While it is a common theme in motorsport for professional drivers to drop from elite competitors that made fans fall in love with them to arguably the worst version of themselves, drivers like Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso have continued to redefine the way we see age in sports. Both drivers have careers that stretch beyond 15 years, and even at an advanced age have continued to show why they are considered two of the greatest drivers of all time. Think about stars like Michael Schumacher and Sebastian. In Schumacher's late 20s to late 30s, he was one of the most formidable drivers that ever graced the F1 stage, winning 7 championships, including 5 in a row. However, his final 3 years as a professional driver were a sharp decline from the explosive driver we once knew him to be. The same goes for Vettel. He was the best driver alive in his prime, winning 4 Formula One championships in a row. But his form has continued to dwindle with age. The story seems different for Hamilton and Fernando. The Mercedes and Aston Martin drivers have continued to prove that age ain't nothing but a number, putting up stellar performances late in their careers. Alonso burst into the Formula One scene with Minardi in 2001 before teaming up with Renault as a test driver for 2002. He got promoted to a race seat in 2003 and won his first 2 world championships in 2005 and 2006. His win in 2005 made him the youngest pole sitter, race winner, and world champion at the time. After winning back-to-back titles in 2006, he became the youngest 2-time champion. In 2013, Hamilton signed with his current employees, Mercedes, a collaboration that has been proven beyond successful. So far, he amassed 6 more championships for Mercedes, including back-to-back titles in 2015 and 2016, and 4 consecutive titles from 2017 to 2020. Hamilton boasts the record for most career wins, pole positions, podium finishes, career points, and laps led, to name a few. Now, in his 16th Formula One campaign, the British-born driver has continued to prove his doubters wrong. Despite having numerous records to his name, the 7-time champion has continued to hold it down for Mercedes and bagged a podium finish at the Australian GP. The 38-year-old has continued to look like he's still got some years in him. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff said last year that Hamilton feels he has another 5 years in him. Speaking of Hamilton and Alonso, he had this to say: "We can see sportsmen like Tom Brady or LeBron James, Ronaldo, Lewis, who will go beyond 40, and I think if you continue to improve, if you know how to live your best life, have good nutrition, train and focus, you can stay longer." Fernando has shown that at 41, he is still very strong, Wolff told Dazn. He added, "I think they are breaking barriers," and indeed, they are. Could Alonso and Hamilton push for more titles before finally pulling the curtains? It remains to be seen. Fernando Alonso is currently on a multi-year contract with Aston Martin. While Lewis Hamilton is currently negotiating a new contract with Mercedes, it is clear that Wolff is keen on concluding on keeping his iconic driver for some more years. He had this to say about the contract negotiations: "It's super embarrassing. Every 3 years, we know that we have this moment, and it's like negotiating the financial terms with your best friend, with a close friend. How do you go about it? Normally, you don't have a situation like that. I want the best for him, but in this role, I need the best for the team. It may be the only time in our 10 or 11 years that we're together, and our goals diverge," the 51-year-old businessman added. In other news, Hamilton's teammate and partner in crime, George Russell, is starting to heat up. Although he's still got some catching up to do to replicate or surpass the 7-time world champion. Still 25 years of age and in the nascent stages of his Formula One career, he has continued to show signs that he may one day become an F1 icon. However, he might have to wait a while before becoming the face of the Mercedes team. That, of course, is if both drivers remain tied to the constructor in the foreseeable future. Wolff had this to say when asked about Russell: "George, since he arrived, is driving to be world champion one day. He's a very hard worker, like Lewis. But he is very mature for his age. You feel you are not talking to a 25-year-old, you are talking to a 40-year-old. Should Mercedes start producing race-winning cars or heat up in a push for the title as the year goes by, Russell's impressive performance alongside Hamilton will be worth looking forward to. As for Aston Martin, they continue to depend largely on Alonso to stay on top, as the Spaniard's teammate Lance Stroll has continued to underperform during this campaign. The 24-year-old has managed to amass 27 points this year, with his best finish coming at the Australian GP. Stroll has only made the podium 3 times since debuting for Aston Martin in 2021. However, as long as Hamilton and Alonso can keep their switch on, Mercedes and Aston Martin are almost certain of a podium finish at the end of the season. Are we ever going to see Alonso or Hamilton clinch another title? If we're being honest, that may seem very unlikely, with the Dutch juggernaut Max Verstappen having all the answers in the sports at this moment. However, the Aston Martin and Mercedes drivers continue to prove to the world that there's no reason to doubt their incredible ability to compete and carry their respective teams on their backs. The spark they had may not seem as luminous as it once was, but there's no doubt that it's very much present.